Speaking Human.
Today on Speaking Human, we venture on a quest to determine the impact of Facebook's new mission and uncover examples of other brands with magnificent mission statements. Prepare your ears for danger because on this podcast, failure is not an option.
Speaking Human.
Welcome to Speaking Human, where we simplify the world of marketing for humans. I'm Shad Conley, and with me is my co-host, Patrick Mission Impossible Jebber.
You know I love to make impossible missions possible, Shad. That's my thing.
It's kind of your thing, it is. I think of you as like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, yeah, it was one of my favorite back in the day. The John Woo Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise and his long hair.
Jumping off the motorcycle through midair. It's kind of crazy. Basically like a Fast and the Furious movie before those movies had no regard for gravity.
And two, anytime I make an impossible mission possible, white doves come flying out from wherever I'm at.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're good with a mission. Usually you will accomplish a mission. In case you don't get it yet, people, we're talking about missions today on this episode of the podcast. And instead of an opening question today, we're going to play a little game called Match the Mission. You ever played Match the Mission before, Patrick?
I'll say this is my first time.
My first time as well, since we just made it up.
Yeah.
But basically how this game works is one of us will read a mission statement without saying who the company or brand is, and the other person has to guess who it is. It's going to be a tough game because if you know anything about mission statements, they tend to be a little vague.
I will say, I think mine are going to be pretty easy for you to guess because I picked pretty big companies, so I think it won't be difficult to guess them.
I don't really like what you just did there, which is set me up to look even worse when I can't get them.
Yeah, well, I'm setting you up for failure.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Throw me the first one. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, so the first one is, our vision is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, to build a place where people can come to find and discover anything they might want to buy online.
Is that Amazon?
Of course.
Very customer-centric. So, yeah, that's a good one. You can find anything there. Amazon's got it all. We've raved about them many times.
Yeah, and the key there is, Earth's. They want to be Earth's most customer-centric company. I love that part.
So that might be a mission they'll need to adjust when Bezos gets us to other planets or the moon or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let me give you my first one. Match the mission. To be the best toy and baby retail company in the world.
I'd say Toys R Us? Babies R Us?
Ah, you got it. Toys R Us, Babies R Us, they own, it's all one.
Yeah. I feel good about that. All right, so my next one is, this is easy, Shad, you're going to get this. To organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful.
I do know that one. I'm familiar with it actually researching the show, obviously. I saw that one. That is Google, the mighty Google.
Very good, very good. I mean,
Amazon and Google coming out with the bigs.
They're not really all that difficult because you know the company, you know what their mission statement is for the most part.
Yeah. All right. This is a little bit more of a difficulty level with this one. To help people discover the things they love and inspire them to go do those things in their daily lives.
I'm going to say Pinterest.
Ooh, nice. That is Pinterest.
Is it?
Very good. Yeah. That was impressive because I didn't think you were going to get that one.
I'm really good at this game. What can I say? It's the first time I've played it.
I have trouble believing you haven't played Match the Mission before.
Yeah, well, we all play Match the Mission in our free time.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
It's fun.
So this one is probably the most difficult out of my list. So I will give you the out if you don't get it right away. You ready?
I'm ready.
Provide the best gear for our athletes and the modern day explorer. Support the preservation of the outdoors and inspire a global movement of exploration.
Oh, what's the name of that outdoor company where they were closed on Black Friday?
Oh, you're thinking
Can't think of the
you're
name
thinking
of the brand. Is that
REI?
it? Yeah, REI, is that it?
No, it's not. It's a good guess, though. It's a good guess. REI is sort of a retailer. This is more of a manufacturer.
Outdoor, explorer.
So provide the best gear for our athletes and the modern day explorer, support the preservation of the outdoors, and inspire a global movement of exploration.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. It's North Face.
North Face.
See, it makes sense as soon as you hear it, right?
Yeah. I needed like a Google search at that point for like outdoor companies.
Yeah. I just wanted to pick something that was less techy, less whatever,
Yeah. All right. My last one here. We'll see if you can get it. You'll be in the ballpark. It's just a matter if you can hone in. To provide our fans, communities, and partners the highest quality sports and entertainment in the world, and to do so in a way that is consistent with our values.
Is that ESPN?
Oh, good guess. But no, it is not ESPN. Do you have any other guesses?
Can you read it to me again?
To provide our fans, communities, and partners the highest quality sports and entertainment in the world, and to do so in a way that is consistent with our values.
The only other thing I could think of is maybe like the MLB or NBA or NFL, something like that.
Yep, it's the NFL. So you kind of got it.
Yeah. I figured it's so broad because it doesn't say specifically anything about
the actual sport,
the sport
which is,
itself. Yeah.
I guess they're keeping themselves open in case the National Football League at some point does not want to be about football.
Yeah, that would be the part that I think is missing from their mission statement.
I agree, and it's, we'll probably get into this a little more. That's something I found in a lot of brand mission statements. They're missing that little specific piece that makes it notable to them.
Yeah, unique to that brand, yeah.
But, the follow-up to all this, so that's the end of the match game. The follow-up question to that is, how important are mission statements to brands? Do you think they're important today? Do you even really need to have one? What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, mission statements, I think, are crucial to a brand success. I look at mission statements as the beginning stage of planning a trip. Think of how you typically plan a trip. What's the first thing you do?
Get your tickets, or what do you? Well, depends on the trip, I guess.
Yeah, but first thing is you got to decide what your destination is, right?
That is the first thing. Figure out where you're going.
Yeah,
right?
Figure out where you're going. And that's basically the mission statement in a nutshell. It's a snapshot overview of the trip. And then you have your brand strategy, and that's your roadmap and all the places you're going to be stopping along the way, and basically how you're going to get to your destination. But without the mission statement or the destination, you'll just wander aimlessly. You won't really have a true destination. So I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's one of those things that may seem outdated when you hear the term mission statement, but they serve such an important purpose. They're important externally, but I think internally they're even more important. We've worked with a lot of early stage companies who are, we're a company because we have this service or this product, and they haven't thought really beyond that, That's what the mission statement, I think, helps you do, is think beyond your mere products and services to what you're all about, why the world needs you, what you're trying to do, and how you're going to stick around for the next 20, 50, or 100 years, What's the purpose you're going to be serving? And to even know your brand, you need to go there first.
Yeah, it takes some reflection. For small businesses, it would take some reflection. For companies and corporations, big enterprises, a lot of times that's much more difficult in that type of environment because big companies have a lot more to their mission because they're doing more, not more important.
Yeah, you see that a lot with the companies where there's like, an umbrella company with all those brands underneath it.
Yeah.
Like even extracting what is our mission when we're doing all these different things, when we have our tentacles out in 20 different directions. So pretty important, and we'll get into some great examples here soon. In a minute, we'll talk about the first ever change to Facebook's mission in the brand's 13-year history. But first, let's get a quick word from our sponsor.
Today's sponsor is Farmers Insurance. Insurance can be confusing, overwhelming, and time-consuming. At Hire Insurance Agency, we remove the guesswork and hassle, helping you protect what matters most. We offer a wide range of auto, home, business, and life insurance policies to help you meet your specific needs. Call 844-543-5251 3463 or visit hireinsurance.com. That's HYRE insurance.com for more information.
It's an incredibly big deal that Facebook is completely overhauling its mission and has a new mission. So what is the new mission of Facebook?
So our new mission is to bring the world closer together. And for the last decade, our mission has been to make the world more open and connected. And we've been really focused on these ideas, giving everyone a voice and helping to connect people, especially with their friends and family. And I think that those are really good things, and we're going to keep doing them. All right, we're definitely not done with that mission yet. But now, I just feel like we have a responsibility to do more in the world, right? I mean, when you look at the world today, giving people a voice and helping people connect are good, and they've made the world better in a lot of ways. But our society is still very divided, right? And that means that people need to work proactively to help bring people closer together. It's not just enough to help us simply connect. We need to work to bring the world closer together.
That was an audio clip from CNN's interview with Mark Zuckerberg, where the Facebook chairman and CEO explains why the brand recently changed its mission. The mission change was a first for Facebook and may signal the arrival of a new era for the social giant. But was it a good change? We'll get to that in just a minute. So Shad, first, my question here to get us into this. What do you think of Facebook's original mission statement, which is give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected? Did you think it was good?
Yeah, I would say good, not great. It's one of those, as we were kind of just talking about, lacks that little bit of specificity that would tie it to Facebook more quickly. It has the key words there, share, open, connected. So that's good. I thought the main focus, I guess, of their original mission statement would be enabling people to connect to other people, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good mission statement. I don't think it's a great mission statement.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's not bad, but like you were saying, it could be better. It could be a little bit more unique to them.
Yeah. So what do you think about the new statement? And the new statement, for those listeners out there who don't know, is give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together.
I think it's a more mature mission statement. It essentially is an evolution of their original. Like, it's not that far off from the original mission statement,
No.
And this is where I think mission statements and brand strategies are very helpful in that they can be organic and grow and evolve over time. And I think that's what this did in a way. They realized that they wanted to do more in the world, and I think the mission statement is trying to achieve that while still being generic enough to give them the ability to do a lot of different things. Yeah,
it still has the, what I just mentioned as the problem I had with the last one. I think it's still a slight problem with the new one. It's not Facebook definitive in much of a way, but it's still good, and it's going in a direction I think they needed to go based on how people are using Facebook. It's different than it was 13 years ago. This thing, Facebook, came out, and it's like, whoa, you can use this to connect and see people's pictures and find people you haven't seen in like 10 years. And then over time, to some extent, that novelty's worn off, and people are using it in different ways than they were using it 10 years ago. So it's become a different thing, and they needed a new mission, I think, built around that evolution.
Yeah, because if you look at the differences between the two, what's really interesting about the new mission is that it really focuses on bringing people together as opposed to making the world more open and connected, which connected in a way signifies that they're going to come together in some way, shape, or form. But I think the goal now for them is to pull people together to make the world a better place, which is, I think, an interesting evolution and maturity in the statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. One, quick side note I'll say that I do like about the statement, both past and present, something I'm glad they kept, is that beginning of give people the power to. Mm-hmm. We have developed this mechanism for you to do this, and we're giving this to you, giving the people the power. That's good. But yeah, I think just the way Facebook has become this place, not necessarily of building communities, as it has become this more divisive place where people are dividing more and like seeing their split with other people more. And that is part of the driver of that new mission, where it has to change, where they want to do something more positive as this has turned into maybe a more negative thing?
Yeah, overall, they're basically trying to say, we want to build this thing, as you said, this mechanism to make the world a better place. And by doing that, it's got to be positive.
Yeah. So it's a good redirect of mission, and it'll be interesting to see how they do that, because there's a lot of challenges to that. One of which is a lot of people have talked about how people are using Facebook to get news now. Like, that's their main news source, and there's all these like fake news things popping up. And so is Facebook responsible for delivering the news? Is Facebook responsible for delivering the news objectively? Mm-hmm. These are all challenges and questions in their path that I think relate more to that new mission than they did to the old one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So what do you think it means? What does this mean? This new mission, Facebook's like, Mark Zuckerberg's on a CNN interview. They have this new mission. They've changed it for the first time. What does it mean for Facebook moving forward? Does it mean anything for them moving forward?
In the end, I don't think it changes Facebook at its core. I think it helps them reach further than they did before. Mark Zuckerberg talks about wanting to help change the world for the better. And the only way to do that is to build communities, these smaller communities. And essentially the smaller communities, when you build them, you're bringing these people together and for good, for the most part. And something they've already been doing with Facebook, but now they've defined that a bit more with the idea of groups and communities. So all it's really doing is helping evolve or enhance their core mission. And I don't necessarily think it's going to change them. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it's really gonna, you're gonna go to Facebook one day and it's like a totally different thing or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it does tell you something, which is them saying, hey, we're at a turning point. Mm-hmm. We've kind of built this thing that changed the way we communicate, and we have this huge worldwide user base. Now it's a little bit of a pivot where it's like, how can we keep this thing relevant? How can we make it a positive force in the world? How can we keep people using this in a good way, I guess, as opposed to let's just get people on here and get people connecting, because they've already done that. Yeah. Most of the world, I think, is on Facebook at this point.
Or they're deleting their Facebook account and then coming back months later.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to quit, but they can't.
Yeah.
It's addiction. Taking it out to the companies out there, why should a company change its mission statement? How do you know when it's time, or when is the right time?
We've talked about this before, in many ways, elements of a brand, and mission statements are no different. They should act as, a structural component of the brand. And since it reflects a form of the overall destination and how you plan to get there, it should be handled, I think, with a level of respect, and only really be changed if the business has changed, the business itself has changed or evolved to the point that the original mission isn't really accurate anymore. You know what I mean? Other than that, I don't think it should just be like very whimsical nature to the mission statement. It shouldn't be just changing all the time. It should be something that you handle carefully.
Yeah, if you're changing your mission statement all the time, you probably have problems.
Yeah.
Internally, if your company can't keep a mission nailed down for very long, it's not a good signal. I've identified a few things they can all be happening at once. It can all be the same thing. You can either be reaching a turning point as a company like Facebook is, or maybe over time, what you do, your products and services have evolved. And so when you look at it, you're like, well, we're just not the same company we were, 10 years ago when we started. Or, oftentimes that can be when you're rebranding. You've gotten to that point. Usually it's because you've evolved. Our brand identity doesn't really fit anymore. Probably an ideal time to take a look at your mission statement too. Mm-hmm. And again, those are three separate things that are one and the same. They can all be happening at once.
Yeah. If any one of those things are happening, then it's always important to consistently and periodically reflect on, are we still on the same path? If we're not, why are we not on that same path? And if this is the new path, then maybe we should reflect that in the way we present ourselves.
Yeah. And you'll definitely kind of have an inkling those things are occurring, but it's definitely conversations you should be having and things you want to flesh out.
Absolutely. So what should an effective mission statement do or accomplish at? Are there elements that you feel need to be included in a good mission statement?
I thought of three things, and this is basically based on looking around for this podcast, reading through dozens of different mission statements, thinking like, what am I seeing in the trends, the similarities between the ones I do like? And I pinpointed three different things. The first thing is it should create an ongoing goal that can be accomplished, but never fully achieved. Something that's always just out of your reach. The second thing I had is it should speak to human beings and general human desires. Right? So it just can't be like our mission is to make a bunch of money or our mission is to destroy the earth. Something like that. It should speak to something that collectively people can get behind and feel like they're a part of. The third thing is it should be focused on external impact instead of internal gain. And one of the statements I saw that at first I was like, oh, it's a pretty good statement. But when I thought about it, it seems more self-interested. ASOS? Is that how you say that company name?
Yeah, I think that's how you say it.
And their mission is to become the #1 fashion destination for 20-somethings globally, which isn't terrible, but I think it speaks more to self-interest. We want to be #1, as opposed to we're giving people the power to ...
I like all of those elements, and where you bring it back to, having that human desire connection is so important, and something that sometimes gets very lost because that's the most difficult element of any brand is to really understand how you're affecting people outside of your company and to make it very human and less robotic, like it's not about business goals necessarily as it is how you're affecting the people who are consuming whatever it is that you're developing or manufacturing or providing,
Yeah. And one of the things that we talk about it all the time on this podcast, too often gets lost in branding and marketing is just that human element, how it connects to me as opposed to you.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up. There are a ton of resources out there that specifically discuss how to craft mission statements, so I'm not going to bog down the cast with all that of what goes into developing one. But I will say, one of the things the CNN anchor who talks to Mark Zuckerberg in that, one of the things she says, which is what I think all mission statements should strive for, is that utopian ideal. You mentioned it when you said something that's achievable, but just always out of reach. I think that's so crucial to great, not only mission statements, but to building a great company.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that mention of utopian. It's kind of like, in this scenario, what is our ideal? We're a nonprofit organization, and it's to eliminate hunger from the world altogether. Not a hungry person left, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that is a great way to look at it. What's the ideal scenario? What will put you out of business that you'd be happy to go out of business because that occurred?
That's where I think the utopian idea comes into play is think bigger. Always think bigger.
Yeah, that's good.
So next up, we go deep into the branding jungle to uncover examples of some of the most effective mission statements ever to be seen on Earth. Ever. On Earth. So let's begin our mission.
That was the iconic theme music from Mission Impossible. Obviously a thematic pick here as we're talking about brand missions. When it comes to mission statements, there are a wide variety out there, long and short, specific and very broad. What we're going to do right now is share a few examples each of ones we think are the cream of the crop, the missions we're most on board for. So Patrick, looking at mission statements to prepare for this list, what did you find you value in a great mission statement? Like, what's a great mission statement look like to you? I know we just kind of touched on that a little bit, but more on a more specific level for you, the ones you picked, what did they have in common?
I'll say that mission statements that I found are the most successful are those with a laser accurate description of what the company strives to provide the customer and provides an idealistic and, like I said before, utopian view of what the company wants to achieve in general and for their customers. So,
yeah, that's good. I think that's a well done summary there. The criteria I mentioned before, those are a part of it. On a more specific level, I favor the shorter, like the one sentence mission statements versus the like 2 or 3 sentence ones, as simple as possible. And then, as I talked about earlier, I like a little bit of specificity. I like to be able to tell mostly who it is, or at least get in the ballpark of who the brand is. I'll give you an example of a too generic one, which I hope isn't one of your picks of favorites. Microsoft. Their mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. I mean, that could be any company, right?
I mean, don't we all want to do that at some point? You know, that's the thing. Like, some can be so general and so broad reaching that corporations, this is where they struggle, right? Because they can't be as refined or as laser focused as a smaller company can be. And so therefore, it's so generic sometimes that it's hard to tell who it's for.
Yeah, I see the Microsoft one, I'm like, at least say through computing or through technology or something that, you know, at least hone it in a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I want everybody to be happy.
That's a good mission statement, to be honest.
Well, it'd be better if it was like, to provide worldwide happiness by injecting people with this serum.
Yes, okay.
So, you know, that being said, let's get into our examples of great mission statements. You want to throw out your first one there, Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one on my list is the American Red Cross. And the mission statement is, it prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. And I love this mission statement because it's action-oriented, right? It tells you what they're going to do and also how they're going to empower the people who make the organization whole, their volunteers and donors. So it's sort of like what you see in Facebook's mission statement with giving them the power to, right? Prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors.
Yeah, I think so too. It's got all the elements in there. It's you know, I was talking about specificity. That's specific enough. You get a very good picture of the organization and what they're looking to achieve from that. And I'm glad you picked a nonprofit too, because I don't have any nonprofits on my list. So I'm glad to have one of those inserted in there. So my first one comes from NASA. And their mission statement in its current form is to pioneer the future in space exploration, scientific discovery, and aeronautics research. So, you know, they're giving you the specifics, but they also give you this, you know, inspiring lead in to pioneer the future in space exploration, you know, which I think people can get behind. The future, pioneering, exploration, exciting words that hit on what NASA does. And the interesting side note to that is 2002 to 2006, they had a different mission statement before they changed to this one, which was to understand and protect our home planet, to explore the universe and search for life, to inspire the next generation of explorers, as only NASA can. And the big controversy when they changed it in 2006 was they dropped Earth. They left out to understand and protect our home planet and went into, you know, the more exploration and discovery areas.
Yeah, that's interesting. And one where, you know, it shows maybe the growth and evolution of the organization, right? Because it's like we were talking about before, as you mature, your goals and everything maybe become a little bit broader than when you started. At some point, I think they maybe foresee Earth not necessarily being the point at which you would consider home.
Yeah.
Eventually, would people be colonizing Mars? And that might be their home. So just a thought.
It is an interesting thought.
So the next on my list is NPR, National Public Radio, for those who don't know the acronym. And theirs is to work in partnership with member stations to create a more informed public, one challenged and invigorated by a deeper understanding and appreciation of events, ideas, and cultures. And the best thing about this mission statement is that it understands its quote-unquote customers, the public, and what it aims to deliver to them, a deeper understanding by delivering news and information to them. It's pretty specific to inform the public, right?
Yeah, and there's a simpler version, I guess, of that where they could have just ended with to inform the public. But I like how they went to this next level of challenging, taking a layer down of this is more who we are, that defines them better and separates them from other similar public service organizations like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically saying we are going to provide this information to you, but we're also going to take care in that all the information we inform the public with is going to help you have a deeper understanding of the world around you.
Yeah, it's not just handing it over, it's making you actually think.
Yeah.
Which I think is a key piece of that. So I'm definitely glad that's in there. That's another good one. Another good organization there. My number 2 is I'll say a favorite of the podcast, but I only say that because this organization, this company, this brand was the winner of our best brand jingle bracket back in March. And that's State Farm. You may remember that. They won for their jingle. After all the voting, they were left in the end. And here's their mission statement: to help people manage the risks of everyday life, recover from the unexpected, and realize their dreams. So you got 3 tiers there that I think totally cover, what they're trying to do, or what aspirationally what insurance is doing, right? And that's helping you manage these risks, helping you recover when something bad happens, and, helping make your dreams come true, which is the more inspirational kind of ending, which I think is specifically positioned there, and very well so. So I think it's an all-around pretty good mission statement for that organization.
Yeah, and something that I think is important, especially in the insurance world, because a lot of times insurance companies aren't really looked at in the best light as, something that they're trying to give you a better life necessarily, but it's important that they're striving for that, because I think that helps set them apart and gives them more positive direction.
Yeah, and the statement really, as I kind of mentioned up front there previously, inserts the humanity in there, right?
Yeah.
It's helping people with these things that could happen to you. It's much more human than making money off of people.
Replace items in their life.
Yeah. The way people perceive insurance, this kind of reminds you what it's there for is actually as a good backup, which if you didn't have it could be catastrophic, right?
Right. So the last on my list, and probably one of my favorite for a number of reasons, is TED, as in TED Talks.
Not the talking bear movie?
Yeah, not TED with Mark Wahlberg. But TED's mission statement, it's glorious. 2 words: spreading ideas. And this may be the most concise mission statement that I've probably come across, at least in my searches, but there's something beautiful about the bold nature of it being somewhat obtuse in that it's not specifically stating what ideas, what kind of ideas, but just spreading ideas, any ideas, all ideas. And if you think about TED Talks and the topics they cover, it holds pretty true to that mission. People spreading ideas and their knowledge and their thoughts, It's a great mission statement.
That is a good one. Actually, that's a very good one. I'm glad you brought it up. It obviously defies everything I've been saying about, the specifics and liking those. I mean, it doesn't get more general than that, but there's beauty to that absolute simplicity, and it stands out because everybody goes a little more than that. Most people wouldn't be as bold as to have a mission statement that simple, but that absolute simplicity is what works for it and is perfectly fitting.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit, too, of there's a story about Hemingway. He was involved in a short story contest, and the contest was to see who could write, the most effective thing in the shortest possible story. And what he came up with was 6 words, I think. It was baby shoes for sale, never worn. And there's like a whole story that unfolds in your mind just from hearing that, right? And that's the same thing I associate with the TED spreading ideas mission statement. I love it.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate it for the simple fact, like we talk about all the time, strip away everything except what is completely necessary.
Yeah, down to the essentials. I like it. I like it a lot. That's a great one. For my final pick, I know you promised not to mention Nike. I made no such promise.
I know it's difficult.
So I chose their mission statement, which is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And then there's an asterisk after that. And the asterisk is, if you have a body, you're an athlete. I think that little addition there makes all the difference in what they're saying. When we were talking about the best Nike commercials, I think our number 1 was just a kid running down the road, trying to run covered in sweat. Part of the Nike platform is, they have all these celebrities and famous athletes as their spokespeople, but they also have this whole key component of their brand where it's focused on the everyday individual. So that's fit in there nicely with that asterisk. And I like inspiration and innovation to every athlete. Hits on what they do without going one level deeper with specificity, but I think that would have actually hurt them in this case. I think having those inspiration and innovation balances exactly what they're doing.
That's a great one. And as the asterisk makes that mission statement for me. And, mainly because it adds the human element to the brand. It's showing that you don't have to be a professional athlete. You don't have to be LeBron James or whoever. You can just be you. Very powerful. I love that. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good element. And how they kind of pull that off with those two sentences where you read the first one and you're like, every athlete, and you're like, oh, that's not me. And then you somebody pointing a finger at you that's saying, no, you are an athlete. Mm-hmm. Works pretty effectively. So that's a great list. Mission accomplished. We're out of business.
Yeah, so on that note, let's get our final nugget of human wisdom.
Human wisdom. Today's final nugget of human wisdom comes from the world of fiction. I actually thought about inserting this into my picks for best mission statements because it's so good, and I think it's a great example for brands of how to put together a mission statement right and what your mission statement should accomplish, even if this organization isn't actually real. Unfortunately, the final nugget of human wisdom comes from Star Trek. And if you'll remember, the opening narration of that TV show and film series always was the same, and it laid out their 5-year mission of the Star Trek Enterprise: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. So there you have exactly what they're out there to do, and it's presented in an inspiring way that you can get behind. This is an organization you would say, all right, I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. They're going where no one has gone before. That's impressive, and there's always room for that. Keep that in the back of your mind as you're working on your mission statement. It's a great example to work off of how to put it together.
What's kind of interesting about that mission statement is if you know anything about Star Trek, you know that mission statement has slightly evolved over the decades, because the original one is to boldly go where no man has gone before. And they slightly altered that as, I think within the last, 5 to 10 years, to where no one has gone before, because of the change in our just society and where we're being less gender specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah, less exclusive. That's a good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. And I don't know if that changed with the new movie series or when exactly that changed, but I definitely noticed that watching the last 2 movies.
Yeah, it speaks to what we've talked about today in that evolution of mission statements and the possibility of adapting them and evolving them over time. It doesn't have to be a complete departure from the original mission statement. It could just be refinement to what your core values are.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. And it could even be, reflecting maybe your organization hasn't changed, but in the ways maybe the world around you has, right? And so there's just some little tweaks you need to make to be more inclusive or to be more reflective in your language than you had been when your company was started, maybe 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, I'm so glad you used that one. Hits close to home.
It's a great example or template to work off of, or at least keep in your mind. A little bit of creative inspiration for you.
Again, we did it, Shad. We did it.
Mission accomplished.
Well, that's it for today's episode, everyone. You can find current and past episodes of the podcast on speakinghuman.com. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us a review. We love reviews, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
And we love you.
And we love you.
If you're a marketer launching a new campaign and you'd like us to talk about it on the show, give you a little exposure, let you know our thoughts, let us know. Send us an email. feedback@speakinghuman.com. That's feedback@speakinghuman.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Speaking Human. Catch you then, humans.
Speaking Human.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.